Welcome to Driven AF Recovered. We are back. We're going to talk about emotions, just generally speaking, whatever's on our mind, and recovery and life. I'm Maddie.
I'm Steve.
I'm Josh.
I'm Milo.
What's up, everybody? I'm Ryan.
So, I guess we all decided that I'm gonna kick it off, which is fine. We wanna talk about emotions because, as people who struggle with addiction and guys in recovery now, I've learned, and from what I've seen and learned from other guys too, is it's very important for us to kind of figure out how to not let our emotions dictate our actions. And I've been thinking a lot about this week because I've done a couple of groups that have kind of had like subtopics of emotions and kind of things that tied into emotions and stuff, this week. And then I went over to the other facility and talked to them about it too. And something that I actually kind of just recently realized has really benefited me, right, is learning discipline has helped me control my emotions, right? And I never kind of made the connection before. Like, discipline is about doing things regardless of how you feel, right?
Correct.
Not acting on how you feel, right? So it's, you get up and go to work when you don't feel like it. You get up and take care of your shit when you don't feel like it. You get up and go to the gym when you don't feel like it, right? Feelings, emotions, along the similar lines, right? Because emotions are feelings.
It's interchangeable in my mind. I could be wrong about this, but.
Well, I mean,
Yeah.
Feelings or emotions are feelings, right?
I
That's how you feel.
I even term motivation as a fucking feeling.
Yeah, oh, absolutely, absolutely. So what I've kind of been thinking about and kind of tying into it, right, is the ability to learn discipline, right, has an effect on your ability to control your emotions, right? Because if you can grasp, and teach yourself the skill of discipline to do things despite of how you feel, right, it tells you right then, in that sense, that you're not doing things only based on how you feel all the time, right?
Yeah.
Which is gonna translate in the bigger picture of more extreme, stronger emotions, right? And just not acting on them, right? Not lashing out when you get angry, not going to get high or drunk when you're emotionally hurt, stuff like that. Because you're already in the process of having your mind stronger than your feelings. And I read that in a quote not that long ago, that you need to get to the point in recovery where your mind is stronger than your feelings, right?
100%.
And that's something I've kind of been preaching to these guys, right? And obviously there's, all kinds of other, techniques when it comes to, thinking rationally versus reacting emotionally, removing yourself, from a situation, breathing techniques, stuff that's scientifically proven, right, to kind of lower your heart rate, and just basically not make decisions based on emotions, right? That's something I've learned and I've practiced, right? Is something Jordan Peterson said a long time ago was, I think he said something along the lines of like, no great decision was ever made based purely on emotions. And I was like, oh my fuck, yeah, he's right.
He's right about pretty
Right.
Yeah, I'm kidding.
I was like, he's right, because if you think about it, you think back on your own lives, right? Is there any good decision that you ever came to when you were just acting out of pure emotions? When your emotions were at 100 or 10, right? And you decided to do something, right? Whether it was respond to, a girl or react to somebody challenging you physically, right? Or something you were upset about and you did, right? You probably always look back on that and like,
I could have done that better.
Right?
Like the night out here, right?
Yeah. Probably could have handled that a little bit better.
Besides going to rehab.
Yeah.
The emotions that come and then forcefully go to rehab.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
like one of
Anger is
those-
my strong one, man, that I struggle with probably the most, honestly.
Yeah.
Anger reactions, and I mean, I can trace it back to like where it comes from now, so a little understanding has helped, but that was from therapy last video. Anyway.
Absolutely.
Um,
Well, that's something that our guy Kenny kind of mentioned today.
Yeah,
Kind of
I
being
think
able
he
to
was
identify.
spoke well, man.
Yeah, me too. I was very impressed with it.
Incredible.
By the way, Kenny,
Get
if you
him to
watch
join
us,
us. Come join us.
Come join us sometime. He killed it
Absolutely.
tonight. He was very nervous. He was like, he literally, when I texted him, I was like, hey, I want you to Cody tonight. He was like, dude, you don't have a problem with public speaking. I said, no, that's why it's perfect.
Couldn't tell.
Welcome to the team. Josh and I were driving here to do this video, and we literally had a short discussion about how amazing Kenny's
Yeah, I agree.
talk was.
I thought it was awesome.
So Kenny, you're killing it out there, bro.
Anyway, for like the anger thing I was talking about, like that violent meditation I do at the gym is like almost always solves that.
Yeah.
Which, obviously that's my go-to.
What do you think
What
about
is that?
Throwing on headphones, loud ass music, and going in there and beating the shit out of weights. Like, I channel the anger into that, and then by the time I leave, I'm much clearer,
Right.
and I can actually logically think about shit.
But, so let's
At
think about
least.
something, right? Like, okay, you know you've struggled with anger, right? Ever since I've met you, this is something you've told me
My whole
about.
life, bro.
Right, well, I'm just saying, ever since I've known you, this is something we've talked about, right?
Yeah.
And I've seen you get a little bit better at it. And I've also seen you get a lot more disciplined in every other area.
You're
of
right,
your life.
that was discipline that allows this.
Right.
Yeah. Discipline equals freedom.
Thanks,
I mean,
Jocko.
thanks, Jocko, but I mean, there's truth in it.
Absolutely.
Because being disciplined about how I handle my emotions and not just react, but like take the time to do something beforehand, even if it's just breathe, and then respond instead of react.
Right.
Has gone a long way, especially in my relationships with people. I mean, I used to fucking blow that shit up on a regular, well, you know.
Well, that's something I was talking about with the guys over at the other facility. I was like, a lot of people, like, they don't really see the value in discipline. They're like, what the fuck? I'm not trying to be like a bodybuilder. I'm not trying to be this, because they only think that we're talking about discipline with going to the gym, right? I'm like, I'm not talking about discipline and just working out. I'm talking about just a disciplined mindset and learning the skill of discipline. And a lot of people don't really see the value in it, right? And so I was like, okay, maybe if I can kind of, relate it to controlling the emotions, right, and how that affects recovery, maybe they can kind of better understand the value of discipline in their life.
Also being able to use it in other things. I had discipline in fucking bodybuilding and strongman and powerlifting my whole fucking life, but I had very little in work for the most part.
Mm-hmm.
I had none when it came to my emotions. I had none when it came to drugs and alcohol. I had none when it came to like anything outside of work because I needed money, and the gym because I was, another addiction really for me, quite honestly. Anything outside of that, if I didn't want to do it, I didn't fucking do it. And I didn't control any of my emotions whatsoever. So like, I never really transferred it over until after treatment here. But it was kind of pointed out to me that the principles are all the same, and I was like, holy shit.
Right.
Like, that's true. I can use that in everything I do in life.
Right, so it kind of made you understand the value of it.
Yeah, so I think you hit it 100% with that.
And something when, especially nowadays, over the course of the past couple months, whenever I think of emotions, I think of Chad Wright on Andy Frisella's video that we were talking about today.
I've never heard it put so well.
That emotions are terrible leaders.
Beautiful things, but
Beautiful
terrible
things,
leaders.
and God gave them to us for a reason, but they are terrible leaders. So making, like Rafferty said, making a permanent decision on a temporary emotion or feeling, it all ties together, and we find ourselves in these situations where we're either using again and after a relapse, or we're starting to revert back to our old ways on the path to relapse, right? And that all starts in your mindset, in your actions, and emotions plays very heavily into that. So if we are incapable of controlling our emotions and responding instead of reacting, that's another huge thing for me nowadays. Then we will start to pick up our old habits and go back to what we are used to. A lot of times we skip a very important step of processing, and I know somebody said it tonight, but processing the emotion that we're feeling is huge, and that was probably,
It was
of
mad.
course it was mad. That guy, that he killed it tonight, everything.
His ass back in.
But processing the emotion instead of reacting so you can respond. Like, respond just has such a nicer tone to it, doesn't it? Like,
It really does.
But I think that's another thing that people think too. They think like, oh, like, if they bury it, that means like they're good, right? And it's, I think what he pointed out earlier is that it'll show up again later if you don't
Yeah,
actually like
exactly.
process it.
yeah,
He's right.
Yeah, oh, absolutely, right? Because a lot of people think like, okay, like I didn't let that, I didn't fly off the handle at that, so I'm good. It's like, no, you really
Yeah, because
just
you
buried it.
put it in this little box somewhere back here to come back later and haunt you in some
Right,
other
blow up
situation.
later.
and then the
Right.
box is like 3 or 5 times bigger.
Yeah, and then
You
when
open it up a bunch of
when it
numbers.
does blow up, it's fucking rough.
Right.
I call that harboring. So I
Yeah.
harbor in all these emotions, and I harbor in all this trauma, and I harbor in all these old feelings that would pop up from my childhood, that would pop up from relationships in my life that fell apart with other women, that would pop up from the things that I did and how I was filled with shame and guilt and all the emotions that come up with that frustration, anger, hatred toward other people, jealousy, envy, like shoulda, coulda, woulda type, self-pity, all of those, is they were all harbored within my soul. And I thought that I evaded them from taking the drink and the drug, and then when I would get sober, all these emotions would hit me like a dump truck,
Yeah.
right? And like, how do I respond? So the best way is to go at them courageously, because the opposite of fear is courage. And I have faith that when you go at things courageously and you face them, then you uncover that truth, and with discipline comes truth with looking deep within, and you build up that stuff within yourself, like, okay, I know when I'm out of treatment, I uncovered this trauma from when when I burnt down my house, right? All this self-pity and all this anger toward myself and all this frustration and fear on how my parents and how my siblings would react to me, et cetera, I would get overwhelmed. But now, since I uncovered the truth on why I feel that certain emotion when I see a fire, or why I feel that certain emotion when I see a man hitting another woman, then I think back to my mom and my stepdad, right? So all that emotion would come pop up that I harbored within myself, and that I would react to, and like get in fights with my stepdad, that I would lash out, that I started to act a certain way toward other guys in relationships who would take advantage of women, and I would take out that frustration on them. Like, I uncover a lot of the ways that when experiences pop up in my life when I'm sober, then I recognize why these negative emotions will crop up. Right? So like, it's a lot that could be not even situations that are happening in my life, but with others, and then it brings those emotions from what happened in my life from the past. So I gotta uncover this sexual misconduct, these fears, these resentments. I gotta uncover why I was so awful to myself with the shame and the guilt and what I did, and why when certain situations pop up when I have a relationship with somebody, why do all these emotions come up? Because I have the fear of being abandoned. So that abandonment emotions would pop up, and like, now I know I could courageously just be honest with this person and talk with them how I feel, and I can be myself around them. And if they aren't meant to be in my life, then I know how to handle that emotion that comes with that too. You see, the gist of what I'm saying is like acting better than I feel, and courageously facing and processing why I feel this way. That's the key point.
100% feel that, man.
Yeah.
That's why I react so strongly to things that don't necessitate that strong a reaction.
Yeah.
Based on other shit, old shit.
So how do you keep from harboring that stuff and uncover all those other things, Milo?
I uncovered all of those things by, first of all, talking with my counselor at ECS, and learning that I'm not unique, and talking to a lot of other guys in treatment as well with that. And then I went through the 12 steps of Alcoholics Anonymous and did an inventory, and I continued to, like, when they popped up, then I would call, I would pray, because I pray to God, and I'd ask him to please help me to have clarity on why I'm feeling this way, to place somebody in my life who I could talk to about this, and I would look at why I was acting selfish, why I was acting inconsiderate to the other person when these emotions popped up, why I was acting out of fear, and then why I was acting in self-seeking motives. I'm like, I need to be relieved of all these emotions, and I'll do anything in my way to have myself be free. And that was drugs and alcohol, or that was harming other people.
So you worked on yourself in therapy, you worked the program, and you talked to God, and you talked to another person.
Absolutely.
And you maintain it.
Hey, this is not something that you can just do at one time and then you're freed from all of it. Like,
Right,
it's
something that's gotta be continuously done.
You find something that
Yeah.
works, so continue to do it the next time, because you best believe there's gotta be a next time.
Wait, can you say that again? For all the motherfuckers in the back. I missed that.
Find something that works, and you consistently do that every single time.
Thank you. Man, I don't know how many times I'm like, so what happened?
What was it?
Why'd you stop doing it? What the fuck?
Oh, well, so and they did this and
Right.
It's like,
It was
you
working
got
for you.
4 more
Keep
fingers
doing it.
pointing back at you. Stop pointing fingers at other people. I just had that talk with one of my guys today.
literally have that
So-
conversation like 10 times a week.
I mean, also think about, man, like all of our experiences is we've all gone through loss in the family, struggles with financials, struggles with living on our own and all the bills that come with it, and building up integrity within ourselves and having confidence in what we're doing, and if we're being effective to helping other men and women, right? Like
100%.
all of that stuff that we face on a daily basis comes with a lot of responsibility of handling emotions, or else we're gonna fall apart with the stuff that's been granted to
That was
us.
straight fire.
Absolutely.
It's for real.
Yeah, bro.
Yeah.
Ryan, how have you learned to get better with emotions? I know you're, you know, at this table, the most new person, right? So you're probably the most raw as far as emotional, right? That's because we all know when you're early in recovery, emotions are raw, emotions are fucking up and down and all over the place, right? So I feel like you're living in it a little more, I don't know if I'd say
Fresh.
yeah, fresh than, you know, just with, you know, learning, right?
So for me, currently, my emotions in my sobriety at this current point in time are very much like a roller coaster. And I'm finding that I sometimes lack in what I know I'm supposed to do. You know what I mean? Like the things that Milo said, the things that Josh said, the things that we've all just talked about. And you may have noticed I was very quiet, and I'm sure that's why you called me out. But I was very quiet because of the things that you were saying were all things that I was taking in, like, okay, I've gotta remember that, okay, I've gotta remember that, okay. So, but these are all things that, you know, that I did learn from Maddie, speaking with my counselor Maddie here, and while going through ECS, and when I first came out, all of those things were fresh in my head. And so I was able to take on things that would naturally kind of just set me off, because I spent 25 years of my life very, very angry. I was angry at everything. Small things would really upset me. Big things would really upset me. It didn't matter what it was. I was just angry. And for the first time in my life, after spending a few weeks counseling with Maddie, and he really was able to get down to what was going on, and I was able to get past some resentments, and that really helped a lot. And then what happened was I was able to put a lot of my past behind me. Instead of having it follow along like a big heavy piece of luggage, I was able to let a lot of that stuff go, and it created a lot of freedom. And so now I'm in my sobriety, and I've got all this weight lifted off of my shoulder, and then all of a sudden there's the future, and the future is now putting more stuff on my shoulder, and it's like, all these things are good things, yeah, sure, but they are creating extra weight that are making it difficult for me to navigate through what it is that I have to, and it is creating some doubt and these emotions that would be considered negative. And what I'm really struggling with is, why am I having all these negative emotions when so many positive things are coming my way? And it is essentially what you guys were talking about, you know what I mean? Talk to God, talk to somebody else. Really realize what it is that you're feeling, why you're feeling that, and don't let it overcome you, don't let it consume you, make sure that you get it out. And so that's something that, because there's been so much time since I got, not so much, it's been
More time.
4 months
It's
since
enough.
ECS. I almost feel like I've forgotten some of those things, or not been using them or utilizing them. So it's really, I'm really grateful to be sitting at this table and that we're talking about this topic, because it's literally something that I am struggling with, and you're gonna struggle with that stuff, guys. But it's never been for me like, for me in my sobriety, no matter what has happened as far as my emotions go, I've never once thought, man, I feel like shit, I want to go use. And the reason for that is because I have completely separated my sobriety from anything that can challenge it. You know what I mean? It doesn't matter what is going on in the world.
Not an option.
I'm never ever going to do that again. I've been there, I've done that, I don't need to do it again, you know what I mean? And I did it really well, so that's a part of my past, and that's it. I don't need to experience that again. As far as how I handle my emotions, it has been tough. It has been really tough just recently.
Is it the weight of responsibility? Cause I remember that kinda hit me earlier on. And
That is-
not really knowing what to do with that.
One of my biggest emotions right now is fear, and fear of failure, you know, and when I say fear of failure, I mean, I have a lot of good things that are coming to me. And so I'll just be forthright and say, like, I had my children taken away from me by DCFS in my addiction. And that was about December of 2022. And I am making great strides in getting my son back. And all of a sudden, one day, I'm going to have my son, and I am going to be a full-time single dad. You know, the mom's not around, nobody knows where the mom is, but it doesn't really matter because I have to step up to this plate. Now, how am I gonna step up to this plate? How am I gonna accomplish this? How am I gonna accomplish this? How am I going to be able to be that successful dad in my sobriety? I have no idea because I've never ever tried. And
Here's the thing though, real quick, I'm sorry.
but I'm not there yet too.
Before you go any further though, okay, what reason, and I don't wanna like, you know, go off on a crazy tangent on this, but man, I've learned, we have to start like challenging ourselves and questioning our own shit that we tell ourselves, like these doubts that create emotions, right? Okay, so you were a lousy father in active addiction, right? So are a lot of people. Have you been a lousy father in recovery?
Not yet.
No. You've been holding a job in recovery?
Yes.
You've been going to fucking work every day, right?
Yes.
So what reason do you have to believe that you won't be able to continue something you're already doing?
We kinda talked about this the other day.
So
You got nothing, just say.
well, the reality is that is a fear that I don't have a clue when it's actually going to occur. It could happen in December, it could happen in May, you know what I mean? And it's a bridge that I have to cross when I get to it. What's happening though, is that thought that's so far in the future is holding me back from the now. And it's making it really difficult for me to live my day to day and live in the now and focus on what I have to focus on now, because there is such that hugely strong emotion that is taking me away from now and has me focusing on then. And that's one of the things that I've got to learn how to stop doing is, and that's stressing me out. That is creating anger and sadness and fear and all those things. But really, I guess the reality is that although it's good to have goals and have your sights on the future, you don't want it to take you away from everything you need to accomplish now to get to the point.
Future tripping, man.
Yeah.
Future tripping.
What they call that, right?
But yeah, so
Can't live there, you're
Yeah.
here. That's a
That's the thing.
whole lot of time.
Yeah, control what you can control, right? You're controlling everything you can control now. You stay present and focus on doing everything you can right now, and you're taking care of everything you're supposed to be taking care of right now, aren't you?
yeah.
And that's all you can do.
If that challenge comes, you handle it then.
So is this so I hear a lot of guys when they talk about they're at 3 months, 4 months, 5 months. Is this kind of like is this kind of like a time
Yes,
frame
the
where
honeymoon is over, the pink cloud is gone.
this
I
is
think
the-
about less than a year.
But most people's
Man,
pink
mine
cloud
is-
is, yeah, 3 to 4 months is normally right around where like the
people
whole
start to struggle and then
reality kind of sets in.
Right.
It's the
Right.
fan.
right.
Responsibility sets in.
I think it's because they realize that they're either A, gonna cross that line into adulthood or whatever you wanna call it, being an actual responsible human being, or being the piece of shit that they're so familiar with. And like, for me, I know I'm going to cross that line and it's like, what is on the other side? And
Well,
it's
you won't know until you know.
I'm gonna
Yeah.
rope it back to where this started, actually. Well, as I think you and I have always been a lot similar.
right.
So it goes back to this discipline thing. When I get fucked up now, when my emotions start getting the best of me and I start spiraling into the shit I spiral into, I can almost always trace it back to a progressive, like, kind of downward, not bad, but like my discipline is starting to fall on a few things. And all the negative shit that I start spiraling into comes because I know I'm not on my game. And if I fix the discipline part, my mindset all of a sudden is fine.
That's fire.
I found that out just recently a few times. I'm like, what the fuck is wrong with me? And I'll be like, I'm not quite getting up on time, and the rest of my days are rushed then, and these little discipline slips. If I just correct those 2 or 3 little things that just make everything else better, all of a sudden my mind state and my emotions are back in check.
You know how Rafferty said earlier, making a permanent decision off a temporary emotion? So I'm permanently affecting this present moment from a temporary emotion, because I can never get this present moment that we have back. So all this fear tripping from what the future is, you're affecting every single moment that you have now to be effective, to grow in your character, and to grow to be a great dad, and to be a great man, to whatever you're striving for in life, based off of the temporary emotions in the moment. So you're permanently affecting how you're building up for your future.
Right. So that perfectly wraps up how it goes for me. It's those worries about shit that's not here. That's what affects the discipline, and then the discipline affects my emotions, and then I have, if I go back to fixing the discipline, I can come back to good. For me, anyway.
Oh, me too.
Yeah.
I do it so often, dude.
But it is tied in with, it's typically for me too, tied in with, this is coming and I fucking don't know how to deal with it. But then when it comes, it's always better than I tripped out about it being anyway. Every single fucking time.
At the end of the day, you can't deal with it until it arrives. What the hell is the point in stressing so much about it? And I'm preaching from personal experience. I do this all the time. But I have to remind myself of that.
Yeah.
It may take me a couple days or a week, but reminding myself that I cannot, like you said, Steve, I can't control that. It's so far in the future that I have no sway over that future event. I gotta worry about what is right in front of
Well,
me.
actually, you do have sway over that future event by controlling your present. And excelling at the present thing, that is going to be a better outcome in the future, no matter what the fucking situation is.
Well, this is, me and Maddie were just, I reached out to Maddie the other day because I was reading an email from my lawyer that fucking just set my emotions like through the ceiling, and it like wasn't even anything. It's just about the hearing I have tomorrow on my custody shit, and I've been doing everything I'm supposed to be for the last 2.5 years. I've been constant and inconsistent, but yet like I still get this feeling that there's a possibility that it could not go my way, even though I've been doing what I'm supposed to, right? But it's kind of the same thing you're talking about. Like I'm putting myself like way in the future here, like what if this happens and this could possibly happen, right? And Maddie was like, yeah, anxiety is coming from fear of future pain, but like it's, when we were talking about it, it's an irrational fear, right? I'm doing what I'm supposed to be doing. You're doing what you're supposed to be doing, right?
Even if it doesn't fall in the direction that you want it to go, you
continue doing what you're supposed to be doing,
right?
And even I talked to Corby about this, right? He's like, how would this affect your trajectory if it doesn't go exactly how you hoped? And I was like,
That's a great question.
I guess it wouldn't.
I guess it would.
It is a great question.
I was like,
I'm sure that's what he was hoping he was gonna do. Corby's really good at asking the right question.
I was like, he stumped me because I was like,
Isn't it funny, like, if you were counseling yourself, how you could handle
How you could do that?
but you can't do it with yourself.
That's another great thing about what we were talking about alumni today too, is like having people that like, you can connect with and you're willing to talk to, right? And you're willing to communicate how we talked about how you handle emotions, right? That's what I do. I don't know, like, I told Andy, like, dude, I get anxiety every time I fucking open an email from my goddamn lawyer, and I'm like, oh. But like, I reach out and I talk to Corby, I talk to him, you know what I mean? I think I even talked to Doc about it a little bit, but it's like, just having people that you can communicate shit with, right? Instead of harboring it, instead of burying it, or whatever it is, instead of just sitting on it being like, oh, it shouldn't go away eventually. Might flip this table.
That's it though, too, it's getting it out of your own head, man.
Yeah.
I've done it a lot with you guys and you at times, and probably will have you in the future at some point, but I mean, it's crazy, like that last time out in the parking lot here, and I'm like, as crazy as I was sounding and I knew it, I'm like, I just said it anyway.
Because instead of harboring it, instead of burying it, it's like, dude, I need to get this out, right? Even if it's just.
Well, and then you guys picked it apart long enough to where I was like, fuck, whatever. whatever.
It's like that.
That's the beauty of communicating.
It is, so.
Absolutely.
Like, I ran out of like argument that is, I had no like real logical argument, finally like, whatever, fuck it, let's go.
That's the thing though, is these emotions are given to us for a reason. It's like even the bad ones, like you said yourself, you're sitting here talking about all these emotions and how you feel like you're doing something wrong because so many good things are going on in your life.
Right.
No, we shouldn't feel bad and like we're doing something wrong for feeling emotions.
So you know what, I'm going to send you a video after we're done.
Great.
We shouldn't feel
Shout
bad.
out to Bedros Cooling.
Love that guy.
Bedros
too.
is great.
We shouldn't feel bad for feeling these emotions. Is what we do is we learn through the struggle of handling the emotions. That's why we're all sitting here at this table talking on how to combat these emotions.
But you're right,
It's
though, in
from
the
that.
struggle of it, we actually get better at doing it.
Exactly.
Oh my goodness.
It's-
Second nature.
I cling to the thought that in God's hands, the dark past is the greatest possession I have today. And it's not always so dark.
That's something
It's
I
not
talked to.
really, because it's a perspective of what it's made you who you are to one degree or another, right? So like, it's
Yeah.
not all bad.
And that's yesterday, the
Yeah,
past,
absolutely.
yesterday.
Yeah, man.
And like, once you kind of can bring yourself to be willing to be vulnerable per se, or be honest and talk about emotions, right? I know a lot.
Even when I sound like a psychopath.
Like,
Or other choice words.
right,
Yeah, right.
Like, and just be willing to like, okay, like, even though I'm a man, I can sit here and, you know, open up to one of my guys about something that's, you know, fucking driving me crazy or bothering the shit out of me, right? Once you do it once and you realize you're like, damn, I feel better.
Right.
I should probably do that every time that happens. You become more willing to, and then you kind of understand the value of it. It becomes second nature, right? Because you've kind of now rewired yourself in order to not every time you feel emotion, right? You're not just, I need a drink, I need to get high, I
Right.
can't feel this, right?
You actually learn there's people you can fucking trust,
Right,
but you have to curate that circle properly,
Right.
but yeah.
And all of this takes time
absolutely.
and practice. And a lot of times we don't have that patience.
Yeah.
What, we're not patient? Well, come on, man.
I know. It's fucking mind blowing, but having the patience to work through dealing with your emotions and any other topic we talk about.
Well, that's
Time and patience.
what I try to teach my guys with everything, man. Like, it's, you know, I'm sure you guys know that have been to rehab. Like, they talk about you have to like pretty much rewire your brain, right? Like, these things are like pretty much conditioned responses, right? Like, we're used to drinking over emotions, so we feel emotions. Our brain is gonna tell us to get high, so we don't have to feel them, right? So the only way to rewire and recondition ourselves is to bring ourselves to do it, to start talking, right? And now we've all done that for a while, right? And you're starting to do that. So now my first thought when I feel an emotion isn't, I need to get fucked up. It's, do I need to talk to somebody before I lose my fucking mind?
Yes.
Yeah. No,
Like,
that's,
it's like, I need to
I could not have said it word for word better than that.
Like, it's, you know, the first thought used to be like, dude, I need to get fucked up. I can't feel like this.
Which drug am I gonna go get today?
Right.
That was
And then once
mine.
you know, become willing and open to do these things, and you realize like, oh damn, like I feel better, that helped. And now you think like next time it comes up, you think about getting high, and you're like, oh, I don't wanna fucking burn my life to the ground, so I'm gonna try that talking to somebody thing again, and you do it, like, oh, it worked again.
I think you said it right, man. I'm to the point, like, when I'd rather be dead than get high again.
No, absolutely.
I would too.
And then not in some psycho suicidal way, but like,
Anything
there's
like that.
nothing attractive about going back to dealing with that shit to me. Like, I'd rather just not exist.
No, I feel it 100%, man. I tell
Anything
people all the time,
like that.
there's nothing life could bring me that would make me think about getting high.
You said that very well. Like,
Realizing how much truth there is to the benefit of talking to somebody, it was a huge, it was a huge step for me, because cause we get high to close ourselves off from the world, right? We get high because we don't wanna deal with things, we get high because we don't wanna open up to
Escape reality.
people, you know what I mean? And so, we spent so much, I've personally 25 years of my life, more than half of my life, you know, I spent getting high and, closing myself off from people. So, like, the answer, we've all been saying it over and over again, is just to talk to somebody, get it off of your chest, talk to somebody. And as an addict, that's literally the opposite of what we were trying to do the whole time. So it's a hard reality to actually take that step and be like, okay, I need to talk to somebody. But once you realize how important that is, and once you actually take that step, like it feels so good. Like when, like you open up to somebody, and then it turns out like how you wanted it to end, and you're like, holy shit,
It worked.
it worked. Yeah, exactly. Like it worked, and then all of a sudden then you get that mindset. I don't want to get high. I need to talk to somebody, and it's vital to realize that literally is life changing, just to be able to open up to somebody.
Well, in that case, you can actually process it then, instead of burying it.
That's the process.
And you'll realize too, the longer you're in recovery, that pretty much everything you did in active addiction, you'll need to learn to do the exact opposite in recovery.
Exactly.
Everything.
Whole 180.
How you talk to yourself, how you treat people, right? Like
Yeah.
just everything. The selfless versus being selfish, the being isolated versus being connected. Like it's all just a complete 180 lifestyle change, man. And it's literally so. It's like if it's something you did in active addiction, that's a pretty good indicator that you shouldn't be fucking doing it if you're trying to be in recovery.
Right.
And that's such an easy like litmus test for this shit too. Like,
Oh
did
my
I do
God.
it when I was getting high? Well, fuck.
Probably shouldn't be doing it
Yeah,
now.
it's true, man.
Yeah.
And by doing that, by communicating with others and uncovering these truths within ourselves, when the real situation pops up, like for example, my stepdad, I'm 3 months sober. I talk about my stepdad and my mom's history and how they were in drug use and emotional and physical abuse and all that. And I go over to my mom's house and they start getting physical with each other. What do? Is instead of being in hatred and instead of reacting out of fear and instead of reacting out of just crazy emotions that are sad and furious at the same exact time, I tell my stepdad and my mom, I'm like, I'm going back to Juliet. I said, you guys got whatever you guys got going on here, but I reacted in an emotionally sane way in that moment. The grief, when my father's death pops up in my mind, instead of reacting in isolation from the emotions that come, I go and I spend some time and I think about the good memories that I have with him and uncover that if I get in self-pity, then I'm just blocking off the present moment and I won't be useful toward anybody, right? And it just goes on and on and on, like at work, when I'm angry about how other people are working and I'm working harder than them because I'm the center of the universe, right? Then I uncovered that truth on the emotions that are totally irrational, that I am not just the only man working there. Like, it's small examples like that, but from uncovering those things, my grandma passes away 3 weeks ago, right? My family's all in resentment, they're all fighting over possessions, they're all over the place, gossiping, talking about each other all over. What do I do there? From uncovering the truth about myself, from being in that place of jealousy and greed and negative emotions of sadness from grief, I react in a way where I go and I love and I support and I listen and I just did my best to just be present, and I have forgiveness in my heart today because a lot of those family members forgave me for what I did and my grandma forgave me for what I did to her. So it's just all these emotions from breaking it down on why I am the way that I am when I'm using, and then when I get sober, how I still am that same man if I don't work on anything. Then I learn how to respond from communicating when I actually need to take action. And when my feet move in a positive direction like that, then my mind is renewed. So that thinking, that self-doubt, all that other stuff, all that negative emotion is easier in my thinking to combat.
That's perfect sense.
Absolutely.
That's what I've learned, which is like
Through time.
Invaluable.
Yeah.
And I was gonna say, I think Josh made a really good point, that it takes time and it takes effort and it takes practice, and you have to make it a point to do these things. Like, it's just not gonna come naturally because you want it to. Like, you have to kind of say it out loud. Like, I am not gonna be mad at this because of this. Like, there is no reason for me to be mad at this. And you have to train your brain. Like, you have to teach it to do things differently because of how long it's been instilled in your head. And it does, it takes time. And you know, you guys have a lot of time under your belt, and Maddie's even said he still struggles with one certain emotion, and that's to me is like, it's very clear that it's gonna just be consistent effort, consistent work. But the reason why we're putting in this work and battling these negative emotions is so that we could actually thoroughly enjoy all of the positive ones. And there's so many good things to enjoy that are being blocked by these negative emotions. And if we can't figure out a way to get rid of all those emotions, for lack of a better word,
Or discipline them.
right, or discipline them, there is so much joy and so much happiness and so many positive emotions that you get to experience on the other side. So
Good place to wrap her up, I think.
Absolutely.
Yeah, this was great, thank you guys.
Yeah, this was very helpful to me, actually personally too,
Yeah.
thank you all.
yeah, me too.
Me too.
Hopefully you all made something out of it
Yeah.
too, let us fucking know.
Hopefully.
Please.
Comments.
Yeah, that's
Of course, share, you know,
Yeah.
if you need help or know somebody who needs help, reach out.
Yeah.
We're always willing to help. Thank you for listening, watching if you did.
We'll see you next time.
Take it easy.
Take it easy.